What's going on, guys? It's your boy Tom Talks Rubbish, and today I'm back with another video, this time discussing my top 10 favourite ever episodes of The Big Bang Theory. For those of you that didn't see my top 10 favourite TV shows list, The Big Bang Theory is basically a comedy where four nerds who basically know everything about science, everything about everything except normal life, basically, and basically learn how much they don't know about life when a beautiful girl moves into their apartment complex, and she basically begins to teach them like how to be normal, for lack of a better phrase. So there's four of them. You have Leonard, who, to be honest, is probably the most normal of the group, but because he can talk to women, he knows like right and wrong and stuff, but again, he's still a nerd and still would rather talk about Star Trek than having a normal conversation. But eventually he does fall for this girl who lives in the apartment complex, Penny, and they get married and etc. And then you have Sheldon, who is probably the most peculiar of the group. His catchphrase is "I'm not crazy. My mother had me tested." He has a lot of OCD behaviors, like he'll only sit on one spot in a couch. He'll only wear certain pajamas on one day of the week. He won't drive because of his OCD. He doesn't like people touching his food. It takes him a lot to have physical contact with his eventual girlfriend Amy, who is a neurobiologist who is probably just as nuts as him to start off with. But anyway, and then next we have Howard, who is at the start of the series is sort of the ladies' man of the group, and like he I guess thinks he can get a lady, but every scheme he tries he ends up looking like a fool, until eventually Penny sets him up with Bernadette, who's a waitress where she works, and he falls for her, and eventually they get married and have kids. And then finally we have Raj, who, for lack of a better phrase, cannot talk to women unless he's drunk. So he has to be drinking all the time, and he's Indian and just struggles to talk to women for most of the series. So we see a lot of calamity with him trying to talk to women in the first few series. He tries everything from medication, which is very funny. He tries he just tries anything, but eventually he does learn how to talk to women and has several girlfriends throughout the series. But sadly, in the last episode, he doesn't find love and he's the only single one. And to quote what the actor said about the character in a recent interview, it's quite ironic that the one guy who believed in true love, because he's probably the biggest romantic of the group, didn't find love himself. But anyway, guys, I rambled on with that plot far too long. Let's get into the top 10 list. With number 10, the Cooper extraction. Basically, because of Sheldon's annoying habits, the guys often wonder what their life would be like if he had never been born. And often wish that he'd never been born. So in this episode, when he goes home to Texas to help his family with a crisis, they do, and it's Christmas time, by the way, so like It's a Wonderful Life, they do dream about what happens if he'd never been born. So we see a lot of scenarios where we see, for example, we first see that Amy would be sad and alone still, like she'd be singing happy birthday to herself, like she was at the start, before she was introduced in the series. We see that Leonard and Penny probably would have never got together because Sheldon would have never been Leonard's roommate, so they would have never lived across the hall. We see that consequently that Bernadette and Howard never got together, because if Leonard and Penny never got together, she never would have set them up. We see that basically Raj, Howard and Leonard are all bachelors and still struggle with women. So and then we see a scene where, oh, what's it called? Leonard and Raj live together, and they're both fat because Raj is a feeder. But yeah, I just find this episode really funny, and it is quite cool to think about what would have happened if Sheldon hadn't been in the series, because he's such a polarizing character. Some people love him. I'm in that camp, by the way. Some people absolutely hate him. So, but it is very cool to see a dynamic where he wasn't in, where he'd never met his friends. So we would have never known what this series would have been like. Number 9 is the Weekend Vortex. Basically, I should have mentioned, the Cooper Extraction is season 7, episode 10. The number 9, the Weekend Vortex, is season 5, episode 22. In this episode, the guys essentially go back to how they were before they met the girls, and play video games and eat junk food for one weekend only. And I love the dynamic of, because eventually Howard caves after Bernadette says that she wants to come, so I love that dynamic. And the whip sound effect that we see the guys using on Howard a lot is very funny. Basically this whole thing started because Sheldon had a conflict. Amy had a family party that she wanted him to go to, but she basically, that's how the whip thing started, because he basically agreed to go and without batting an eyelid, and then eventually she says to him in a car scene, if playing that game's more important to you than honouring your commitment to me, obviously being sarcastic, but because Sheldon doesn't understand sarcasm, he takes it as, okay, I can go, bye, and then gets out the car, and yeah, we see them moments. But my favourite scene in this is I have two favourite scenes, where Amy knocks on Penny's door after going to the party on her own, and you basically realise that she's not just stringing Sheldon along, she does really love him, and she basically goes, my boyfriend's a jerk and I just wanted to show him off to my family. But my all-time favourite scene is the final scene, where Amy and Penny have gone into the apartment to make a scene to get Sheldon to sort of apologise, but Raj ends up making a scene because he's the only single one at the time, and he basically, all he wanted was one weekend where it was like the old days before they all got girlfriends, and he basically goes, excuse me, I have something to say. I'll just do a normal voice. I have something to say. None of you may realise it, but I was really looking forward to this weekend. It's going to be like the old days, the four of us hanging out before you guys all got girlfriends. And he basically goes, even if I get one someday, I'll still be the guy who got a girl after Sheldon. And he basically, and then the reaction of Penny, just stone-faced, and she turns around and goes, that's how a girl makes a scene. Gets me every time. It just makes me laugh. Yeah. So that's why I love that scene. Number 8 is The Santa Simulation, which is season 6, episode 10 again. Another Christmas one. I think that's an episode that Big Bang Theory, should I say, has done brilliantly every year. In this one, the guys play a game of Dungeons and Dragons, but it's Christmas themed. So they have to rescue Santa when he's held captive at the North Pole. And I love the fact that in this scene we see Sheldon, basically, who is basically a Christmas phobe, but we basically see that he knows all the Christmas songs because they use a Christmas song to crack a puzzle. We basically know that he knows how eggnog's made, and he basically gets into the Christmas spirit without realising it. But my favourite scene in this is, pardon me, so by this point, all the guys have girlfriends, even Raj. And There's a scene where, in the beginning, before, where they're all arguing that they should not be playing Dungeons and Dragons, they should spend the night with them. So they all come out in party dresses and are like, we wanted to show you what you were missing. That scene makes me chuckle every time because you've got Penny, who's basically a skinny blonde bombshell in a black dress. You've got Bernadette, who's slightly smaller but the same in a red dress. But then you've got Amy in these granny clothes that makes me die every time. Because just the way she walks in, like, yeah, I'm cool even though I don't look very cool. Yeah, so I just love that scene. And I love that episode overall because of the ending where Sheldon gets emotional and basically confesses why he doesn't like Christmas and Santa Claus because one year after his grandfather died, he asked Santa to bring him back and he didn't, so he doesn't like Christmas anymore. But the best line in that is after Sheldon basically destroyed the game because he didn't like Santa anymore. Leonard goes, he takes off a Christmas hat and just solemnly goes, Wolowitz, who's Howard's last name by the way, and Stuart, I forgot about Stuart, sorry, a comic book store owner that they're playing Dungeons and Dragons with, and basically says, they're both dead and I picked this out over having sex with my girlfriend, and storms off. Yeah, that just makes me chuckle every time. Number 7 is the Tangled affection. I am sorry if I butchered that because there's a lot of scientific stuff in this, so I will butcher some names. I do apologise. Season 6, episode 16. It's Valentine's Day, and I really like how all the guys' girlfriends, Penny, Bernadette, Amy, are all basically, they all have a different sort of Valentine's Day. So again, I'll start with Raj because he's single at this point and he tries to, shall we say, he throws a party with the comic book store owner, Stuart, who, to basically show to everyone that just because they're single doesn't mean they can't have a good time on Valentine's Day. Yeah, I love that. I love, what's it called? I love that scene. I love the dynamic of Leonard and Penny who go on this really nice romantic evening, but Penny does everything in her power to spoil it because she basically is insecure and is worried that things are going so well that eventually her and Leonard are going to get married, and that just freaks her out. We have a dynamic where Howard and Bernadette go on a double date with them because Bernadette's so tired from work. She's so snappy, and all Howard wants is his Xbox back that she's hidden from him, which, preach, that just makes me laugh. We have a scene where... Oh, and the most endearing scene in the entire thing, which is my favourite scene. I'll rank that in my top scenes of The Big Bang Theory. Where Amy basically says to Sheldon, we don't have to go to a nice dinner. We can just sit at home watching one of his favourite TV shows and order a pizza. And she turns around and goes, well, that's what you love, isn't it? But he's been trying to be a good boyfriend all day, finding a present. But in the end, he just basically changes his name on his employee stuff to add her as his emergency contact. And she basically, that's the most beautiful gift in her mind that he could have given her. And I love the end scene where she gets a call because he's got an ice cream headache that he thinks is a brain tumour. Again, his hypochondria. And he said, in the end, she goes, brain tumour would explain a lot. Yeah, it just makes me laugh. Number 6 is the Vegas Renormalization. In this one, season 2, episode 21, Howard is a ladies' man at this point. Bernadette's not on the picture. And he's basically been having a friends with benefits relationship with another scientist called Leslie Winkle, who works at the same university as the guys. But eventually, she breaks up with him. She ends it. We don't know why. She just ends it. and Howard gets upset by this because he didn't realise, but he has feelings for her. And the guys, how Leonard and Raj take him to Vegas to get his mind off it. I love seeing the guys out of their natural habitat and being spontaneous for a change and going to Vegas. I love that dynamic. I don't think Penny was in this episode. Like, genuinely, I don't remember seeing her. Oh, sorry, no. She was, but I'll get to that in a minute. I love how, because there's a scene in Vegas where Raj is basically, for lack of a better phrase, he's offered a prostitute. But instead of hiring her himself, they decide to hire her for Howard to cheer him up. I love that. But my favourite dynamic in the entire episode is Sheldon and Penny. I completely forgot about this, and I feel stupid. They, basically, Sheldon doesn't go because reasons that we don't need to get into, and he gets locked out of his apartment and has to have dinner with Penny, and because they don't really get on at this point, while the dynamic is uncomfortable, I really like how she plays his little games with him, how he tries to engage in small talk to make her happy. I really like how they basically end up blending together. But my favourite line in the entire episode is he comes out of Penny's apartment where he's been stayed the night because he got locked out, and Leonard shows up and he goes, "What were you doing at Penny's?" He goes, "Oh, we just spent the night together, and you'll be happy to know I now have a much better understanding of the phrase friends with benefits." Obviously, they didn't have sex or anything, but Leonard just looks at him like, "Wait, what?" And yeah, that just makes me chuckle every time. And number 5 is the robotic manipulation. I'll start off with why this episode's so funny this time. Essentially, Howard, who's still single by this point, that is season 4, episode 1, by the way, essentially rigs a robot hand to pleasure himself, but it gets stuck. And it's funny watching the guys come up with ways to get it off him, should I say. And then they go to the hospital, and all the lady does is switch off the computer that powers it, and it comes off. That just makes me laugh. But there's another reason this episode makes me laugh, where what's it called? Sheldon is now dating Amy, but he's like, she's not my girlfriend. You know how you are when you're a kid. He keeps using that against her, and but basically they go on a date because they want to create a child using sperm and their eggs, but without the sex. So Penny suggests that they should get to know each other better. And I like the awkwardness of their date, the way Penny tries to spring on topics, but Sheldon always twists it around on her. It's quite funny. Yeah, so I just love that episode, really. I'm going to try and rattle through these guys because this video has nearly been going on 20 minutes. Anyway, number 4 is the agreement dissection. Season 4, episode 21. In this episode, Leonard is now dating Raj's sister, Priya, who's a lawyer. And Leonard and Sheldon have a roommate agreement, has certain clauses Leonard has to agree to, certain things Sheldon has to agree to. And basically in this episode, using her lawyeringness, I guess, Priya basically dissects it and makes Sheldon's life a living hell. And then you have some funny moments like them ordering Greek food, which Sheldon hates. You have some funny moments like them being able to Priya and Leonard being able to shower together because they use a clause in the relationship agreement against Sheldon. But the dynamic I really like in this episode is Sheldon crashes girls' night with Penny, Bernadette, and Amy, and they take him dancing to a waltzing place because he used to do cotillion and he knows how to do it. They talk about him kissing a girl. That's where him and Amy share their first kiss because he gets drunk. But my favourite in the end is how Sheldon finally gets what he wants. He essentially rigs his computer to send an email to Priya's parents in India who don't know she's dating Leonard and basically wouldn't approve unless they sign another agreement. And my favourite line in this is Leonard goes to unplug he does unplug a laptop, and he says, Sheldon goes, "It's a laptop with a full charge. Honestly, what do you see in him, Priya?" Because he was so stupid. But eventually Priya gives in and is like, "You either do this or we're done." And that just makes me laugh every time, and he signs it. So number 3 is the beta test Insinuation. By this point, Leonard and Penny, who dated in earlier seasons, are now back together, and they agree that they should, instead of getting mad about little things, maybe give their relationship a trial run, like you would. It's not COVID, guys. I've just got a cough. Anyway, what's it called? They agree that they'll give their relationship a trial run, like you would when you have a new piece of software, beta test. So they make lists for each other of things they don't like about each other, and stuff like that, and that what's on their lists make me laugh. But the B story in this of Sheldon trying to make a YouTube video, PS, just what I'm doing, while they keep interrupting him, is what makes me laugh the most. But yeah, there's a scene where, because according to Penny, Leonard's dates are boring. He takes her to a gun range. There's a scene, but he gets shot in the foot because they go to kiss and the gun's down there, and obviously not thinking, he accidentally shoots it. That just makes me laugh every time. And yeah, I just like that episode. Number 2 is the pilot. Oh, sorry guys, that last one was season 5, episode 13. And it was actually the 100th episode of The Big Bang Theory overall. 101st, sorry. I think 100 is my favourite one. Spoiler alert. Number 2 is the pilot episode. We're basically introduced into these characters by the first scene we see, which is very out of character in my opinion, is Leonard and Sheldon going to a sperm bank, and that makes me laugh every time. We see the doctor or receptionist, I guess, for the hospital, who has a recurring role because she appeared in that season 4 episode where Howard had the robot hand on his man parts, shall we say, which I enjoy seeing her pop up and where her origin started. We see like Sheldon and Leonard's different approach to meeting people. Like Sheldon's more comfortable online, but Leonard will actually talk to people, which I really enjoy. So that's how they meet Penny, and we see that he definitely has feelings for her because he lets her use the shower. We see that eventually they agree to go get a piece of furniture off her ex-boyfriend, which is why she moved in to that apartment, because they broke up. And yeah, I think it's really funny. And we see the start of Sheldon's little quirks. We see Raj not being able to talk at all at this point. And we see Howard trying to get with Penny the entire time, which is just awkward but really funny. Yeah, I think it might be one of the best pilots ever. And number 1 is the recombination. I can never pronounce this. Basically, in this episode, which is season 5, episode 13, and it is the 100th episode of The Big Bang Theory overall. Leonard basically wants to get back with Penny, but imagines in his mind everything that could go wrong with the date, shall we say. And basically, we see them try to be friends, but every time they just have sex in his mind, which is probably his fantasy, to be honest. And yeah, so we then see that, and I'm just going to quickly wrap this up. It's my favourite episode I've watched it so many times, and yeah, I just keep finding new things I love about it. So that's it for this video, guys. I've rambled on for far too long. I do apologise if you made it to the end of the video. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!